Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we'll talk about the dative case and the accusative case. So sometimes we'll use the dative case, sometimes the accusative case, and sometimes we use both. So let's go. Reasons why you want to use the dative case is after verbs, after prepositions, and also the third item with adjectives. So let's take a first look. Dative after verbs. So it's important to understand that this is a sort of rare scenario. Compared to verbs with the accusative case, this is way less frequent. So, ich helfe meiner Mutter in der Küche. I help or I'm helping my mother in the kitchen. Helfen is a verb that takes the dative case. But there is far more verbs, maybe 10 times more verbs in German, that take the accusative case. So whenever you're in doubt after a verb, take the accusative case and you will be most of the time correct. Also, let's take a look at the past tense of helfen. Helfen and then hat geholfen. That's the perfect past tense with this irregular Partizip 2 form. And also we have a noun here, die Mutter, in the plural, die Mütter with an umlaut. So takeaway here, helfen, one of the important verbs that take the dative case. Another example would be danken, to thank someone. Er dankt dem Kollegen für die Unterstützung. So to thank someone for something. He thanks the colleague for the support. So let's revise that. We have danken plus dative, the person in the dative case. And then we have für plus accusative. Für is one of the accusative prepositions. We'll talk about them a bit later. So danken plus dative, the person, für plus accusative, the thing. And then hat gedankt for the past tense form. This time it's a regular participle 2 form. Der Kollege, die Kollegen. This is one of the nouns that belong to the N-Deklination. If you want me to do that, I can do a whole video on that topic. Maybe you've heard of it. Basically, these nouns we have to decline in a different way. They get an N for all of the forms except for the first form, the nominative singular. Also, gehören, another verb that takes the dative case. Der Hund gehört dem Lehrer. The dog belongs to the teacher. Gehören, hat gehört, this time super easy and again a regular Partizip 2 form. And we have two nouns here. One is der Lehrer, die Lehrer for the plural form. And the other one is der Hund, die Hunde. So we've seen 3 super important verbs now that take the dative case. The first one was helfen, to help. The second one was danken, to thank someone. And the third one is gehören, belong to. For beginners, there might be, 10 more important dative verbs. For intermediate students, maybe 20 or so, but it's a rather small group. Again, it's way more common to have the accusative after verbs. I could do another video, complete video about verbs with the dative case. If you want to see that, please leave a comment down below. So the second reason why we have the dative case sometimes is after prepositions. And here I've come up with a silly sentence to help you memorize the dative prepositions. Sarah asked ... I'll show you in a second. Let's take a look first at the first example sentence. Ich fahre mit dem Bus zur Arbeit. I take the bus to work, or I go to work by bus. The noun is der Bus, and for the plural we have die Busse. So mit is an important dative preposition. You probably know that. Mit plus dative. But how about the other dative prepositions? Well, I've tried to come up with a sentence, a mnemonic device, if you want, and it goes like this. Sarah aß nachts Vollkornbrot mit Zucker. What does that mean? Well, aß, the second position, that's the verb. It's the Präteritum past tense form of essen, of to eat. So this means Sarah ate at night wholemeal bread with sugar. It's a random sentence, I give you that, but it basically stands for these prepositions. So maybe you know about the foo dog mnemonic device, and I've tried to come up with something similar for the dative prepositions. So the first word here is a name, Sarah, starts with an S, that stands for seit. Second word, aß, stands for aus. Nachts stands for nach. It's pretty similar anyway. Then we have Vollkorn. So voll, the first part, stands for von. Then we have Brot, the second element here, bread, stands for bei. Then we have mit, that's the same word, stands for mit. And then we have Zucker. So the first two letters here, they give us sie, you, and that's zu. So this sentence might help you with the dative prepositions. Let's go on. Next sentence. Sie wohnt seit einem Jahr in Berlin. Seit is also in our sentence. It's the first word Sarah, the name. Seit einem Jahr. Seit plus dative. She has lived or she has been living in Berlin for a year. If you're serious about learning German, you should definitely check out my 27-hour-long Beginners A1 course. Join over 1,000 students that master the A1 German level with me. All details down below. It's the first link in the video description. What about she has been living in Berlin for 2 years? Well, in this case we have the plural form, so it's das Jahr. For the plural, die Jahre, so we have to add an E. But what happens for the dative plural? The noun also gets something. The noun gets an N. So, sie wohnt seit 2 Jahren in Berlin. Seit plus dative. Also, after nach, we get also the dative case. In our sentence, we had Sarah aß nachts, at night. So, nachts stands for nach. Nach dem Essen gehen wir spazieren. After the meal, we go for a walk. So, our sentence again. Sarah aß nachts Vollkorn, Brot mit Zucker. And these are the prepositions that it stands for. So we have the S, Sarah stands for seit. We have aß stands for aus. We have nachts, pretty close to the whole preposition, nach, after. We have Vollkornbrot, so voll, the first part stands for von. Then we have also Brot in here, it stands for bei. And then we have mit, that's the same word. And then we have Zucker, stands for zu. All right, let's continue now with the next use case. So the next use case is in combination with adjectives. Sometimes adjectives can also take a noun or a pronoun in the dative case. Let's take a look. So, mir ist kalt. I'm cold. Don't say ich bin kalt. That wouldn't make sense in German. We use the dative case here. Mir ist kalt. So literally, to me is cold. What's the opposite of kalt? I'm sure you know it. It's warm. So also, mir ist warm. Mir ist kalt. I'm feeling cold. Mir ist warm. I'm feeling warm. Mir ist heiß. I'm hot. I'm feeling hot. The next adjective that can also take the dative case is langweilig, boring, but also bored. I'll show you. So, der Frau war langweilig. The woman was bored. Here it's super important. We have the dative case. Der Frau war langweilig. Now it means bored. She was bored. If we use the nominative case here, if we say die Frau war langweilig, it means the woman was boring. So here the meaning changes completely. Once again, if we have the nominative case, die Frau war langweilig, it means she was boring. But der Frau war langweilig, dative, now it means that she was bored. Opposite of langweilig, what's the antonym? Interessant. Interessant, langweilig. Also, we have schlecht, which actually means bad. That's the first meaning, the main meaning. But in combination with a person, again, in the dative case, it means that you feel sick, you feel nauseous, you want to throw up, you want to vomit. Dem Kind ist schlecht. The child feels sick. The child feels nauseous. What we also use is another adjective with the same meaning here. That would be übel, also plus dative. Dem Kind ist übel. It means that you're feeling bad somehow, but it's mostly about the stomach, about, feeling nauseous. And the noun is die Übelkeit. So let's continue now with the accusative. The first use case is again after verbs. And like I've said before, this is way more common than dative with verbs. We have some verbs that take both cases, a dative object and an accusative object. That's the last point down below. But here we're talking about verbs that only take the dative case, or only take the accusative case. And here, again, it's way more common to have a verb with the accusative case than with a dative case. Verbs plus dative, we've seen 3 today, helfen, danken, gehören. There might be, 10, 20, 25 important ones that you should know. But verbs with the accusative case, there are hundreds or thousands that you need to know for the B1, B2 exam. So, very common, very, very important, accusative after verbs. Let's take a look. Ich sehe den Hund im Garten. I see the dog in the garden. Sehen, like most verbs, takes the accusative case. Do you know the past tense form for sehen? Sehen hat gesehen. So it's an irregular participle to form. The regular forms, they end in a T, so hat gesät, but it's not gesät, that's wrong. It's hat gesehen. It's an irregular form. Also we have the noun der Hund, die Hunde, which we've seen before today. Sie isst einen Apfel. This comes from essen, to eat. She eats an apple. She's eating an apple. Essen, again, takes the accusative case. Whenever in doubt, take the accusative case after a verb. Let's take a look at the past tense form again. Essen hat gegessen. It's again an irregular participle to form. What about the plural form for Apfel? Der Apfel, die Äpfel. It gets an umlaut. A with 2 little dots on top of it. Great. Also, wir brauchen einen neuen Computer. We need a new computer. So brauchen, super important verb, to need, also takes the accusative case like most verbs. Brauchen hat gebraucht. This time we have a regular participle to form. Der Computer, plural, die Computer. Like most nouns that end in ER, almost every single one, we don't change it for the plural. So the next item on my list is accusative after prepositions. And here we have the little trick, the mnemonic device foo dog, which you might have heard before. Every teacher, every course book teaches you foo dog. So this stands for the 5 important accusative prepositions. Now, some of them are not super common, and also they're fewer in number compared to the dative prepositions. Sarah aß nachts Vollkornbrot mit Zucker. So, my tip for you would be, whenever you're in doubt with verbs, accusative. Whenever you're in doubt with a preposition, take the dative case. Of course, it's much better to know it for sure, but you might not know it in an exam situation, and then that's my tip. Verbs, accusative, prepositions, dative. And you will get 90% right. Ich gehe durch den Park. I'm walking through the park. So here we have durch. It's the 3rd foo dog preposition. Starts with a D. Durch. So foo dog is not a real word. It's just something that sounds funny. And it stands for the 5 accusative prepositions. And there are für, durch, ohne, gegen. Für, for. Around. Durch, through. Ohne, without. Gegen, against. So durch is one of them, so we have durch plus accusative. Der Park, plural, die Parks. Great. Next foo dog preposition is ohne, without. Wir fahren ohne unseren Vater. We travel, we are going some places without our father. Ohne plus accusative. That's why we have unser, and now the ending en. It's the masculine accusative ending. So ohne is one of the foo dog prepositions, and therefore we need ohne plus the accusative case. Ohne mich, ohne dich, ohne unseren Vater. Der Vater, die Väter, with an umlaut. And the 3rd foo dog preposition is für. This one is super important and super common. Das Geschenk ist für die Lehrerin. The gift, the present, is for the teacher. Female teacher. It's Lehrerin, of course. So, für plus accusative. Die Lehrerin, plural, die Lehrerinnen. Like always, the female profession nouns that end in in, they always get an extra nen for their plural forms. And now we have something great that most teachers don't teach the students, that most course books don't teach well, and that most students don't know, therefore. Time expressions without prepositions. Let me show you. Ich arbeite jeden Tag. I work every day, just like me. So here we have a time expression. So time expression basically means it shows you when something happens or when something happened in the past. It's the same. Or it also shows you how long something lasts, like 2 hours long, 3 hours, 5 hours, 2 months, and so on. These are called time expressions, Zeitangaben. And many of them in German, they have a preposition. If they do, then the preposition determines which case the noun that follows is going to be in. But in many cases in German, we also have prepositionless time expressions or time expressions without a preposition. And these stand in the accusative case, like here. Jeden Tag. Der Tag, it's a masculine noun. Therefore, in the accusative, we get an N. Jeden Tag. It's accusative, masculine. Why accusative? Because it's a time expression without a preposition. All right. So, jeden Tag. In this case, we have an alternative. We have the adverb täglich, daily. And we have the super important verb arbeiten. Arbeiten hat gearbeitet. It's a regular participle to form. Wir sehen uns nächste Woche. We'll see each other. We'll meet next week. How about this one? Is nächste Woche also in the accusative case or not? What do you think? Well, yes, it's accusative. It's again a time expression without a preposition. It's not that obvious here because it's not a masculine noun. Accusative is only different for masculine nouns, different to the nominative case. I mean, in this case it's feminine, so it's the same as the nominative case, but this is still technically accusative. Nächste Woche. Die Woche for the plural, die Wochen. Like all the nouns that end in E, we give it an N for the plural. Third example, sie kommt diesen Samstag. Now the months, Januar, Februar, März, and also the days, Montag, Dienstag, Mittwoch, and so on. And also the parts of the day, der Morgen, der Mittag, der Nachmittag, der Abend, they're also masculine, apart from night, die Nacht. So with all of these, it's quite common to get an accusative form when they are used in prepositionless time expressions, like here. Sie kommt diesen Samstag. She's coming this Saturday. So in these cases, we don't change the noun, but we change the words that come in front of the noun. It could be an adjective, like nächsten Samstag. It could be an article form, like in this case, diesen Samstag. They get an N for the masculine accusative. All right, so dieser Samstag would be a very common mistake. Sie kommt dieser Samstag doesn't work. That's the nominative case, but we need the accusative case, diesen Samstag. Der Samstag, die Samstage in the plural, like der Tag, die Tage in the plural. And now, last but not least, now we have verbs that take both the accusative and the dative case. Before we've seen verbs that only take the dative case, helfen, danken, gehören. Then we've seen 3 examples for many verbs that take the accusative case. But now there is also a group that has both a dative object and also an accusative object. And this group is not super big, like the accusative only group, but it's definitely bigger than the dative only group. So let's take a look at some examples now. Ich schenke meiner Schwester ein Buch. I give my sister a book as a present. Schenken is to give something as a present. And with such verbs, to give, to gift, like here, or to show, etc., we have 2 objects. One is the person and one is a thing, like give. You can give something to someone. There is a thing and there is a person. Let's take a look. So, schenken, hat geschenkt, first of all, to give something as a present. You might have learned the noun, das Geschenk, a gift, a present. And then we have die Schwester, plural die Schwestern, sister, and we have das Buch, die Bücher. So in this sentence, we have a person and we have a thing. The person is Schwester, sister, and the thing is ein Buch, a book. And with these verbs, what we always get is we get the person first in the dative case, and then we get the accusative case, and that's a thing, usually, almost always. So dative, person first, meine Schwester, and then that's followed by a thing in the accusative case. mostly. Zeigt dem Besucher den Weg. He shows the visitor the way. Again, we have a person, dative, first, dem Besucher, and then we have a thing that comes next, and that's usually a thing, and that's the accusative case. Zeigt dem Besucher den Weg. Zeigen hat gezeigt, to show, regular verb. Der Besucher, die Besucher. Der Weg, die Wege. Great. Ich schicke meinem Freund eine Nachricht. Again, we have a person in the dative case, followed by a thing in the accusative case. I send my friend a message. I'm sending a message to my friend. So schicken, that's to send. We also have senden in German. Senden and schicken, they're synonyms, by the way. Der Freund, die Freunde, die Nachricht, die Nachrichten. So all of these topics actually deserve their own YouTube video because we've only covered the basics today. Please let me know down below on which of these topics you would like a more detailed, complete video with all the extra rules, exceptions, and more advanced tips and tricks, and so on. Also, there is one topic that I omitted for this video, and that's a huge topic, and that's the Wechselpräpositionen, the two-way preposition. Prepositions like in, an, and auf. You might know that these can take two cases, either the accusative or the dative case, and there'll be a whole video on these prepositions very soon. Also, don't forget to like and share and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.